If I had to 10x my money in a short amount of time, this is the altcoin that I would buy. Today's video is a very special one because I'm going to be answering your questions. I asked my Discord what questions you wanted the answer to, and there were a bunch of amazing questions. This person asked if I had to pick 4 altcoins that could 20x by the end of the bull run, which ones would I pick? This person asked how to exit the market. At the top, this person asked what my top meme coin, AI coin, RWA coin, and L1 is for this cycle. These are the types of questions I'm going to be answering today and much, much more. It's going to be a super fun video. Your questions were amazing. People asking me when I think the top for altcoins is going to be, how to rotate altcoins. If you're down on a position, should you sell? What altcoin should you rotate into? So there's definitely a lot to cover in today's video, and I'm super, super excited. If you do enjoy this type of content where I teach you how to make money in crypto and how to maximize this crypto bull run, make sure you are subscribed by clicking the subscribe button down below and have that post notification bell turned on so you don't miss a single video. You guys know the mantra on this channel. I always try and make sure you're early to the latest trends in crypto. I got you guys super early into PEPE, the leading RWA coin, ONDO, and many, many more coins in the market with at $1. And I plan on continuing to do so on this channel. And there are some picks in today's video, which I believe will also offer some value to you. We're going to look at the large caps that I like, the low caps that I like, and much, much more as we get through these questions here. If you do want an exchange to trade any cryptocurrency, there is a link in the description below to Blofen. Now, we know the Champions League final is this weekend, a la Madrid. And if you do want to win a slice of the $500,000 prize pool, all you need to do is predict the winner of the final. So if you think it's going to be Dortmund, you can vote for Dortmund. If you, like me, think it's going to be Real, you can vote for Real. Basically, this is what you do. Sign up using the link in the description below. It will take you to the campaign page. Click the register button on the page. You can actually get an unlimited amount of entries to vote for the champion. The more entries that you get, the more money you're obviously going to make as this prize pool of $500,000 is split. So what you need to do to earn points, there's a variety of ways, is you can deposit to earn points, you can trade to earn points, so every $10,000 of volume gets you an extra point to vote on the winner. You can invite people to earn points, that will give you an extra vote, and as I said, it's unlimited, so the more of these tasks you do, the more entries you are going to get. What you can also do is spin the lucky wheel to get a $5, $10 bonus, $50 bonus, or you can even win tickets to the final at Wembley Stadium. In order to qualify for the lucky draw, all you need to do is build up $10,000 in volume for one entry. And once again, it's unlimited entries. So the more you trade, the more entries you get. So obviously this will be live up until the final. So you have 3 days and 10 hours at the time of recording this video to enter the campaign. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm putting my votes on Real. Let me know in the comments below who you are putting your vote on. There's a link in the description to access that campaign, and it will take you directly to the campaign page. So now let's get into the first question here. I've selected 5 or 6 questions, and then at the end, I'm also going to go rapid fire through a bunch of questions. There is a variety of questions here, some macro questions, as well as some specific altcoin questions that I want to get into. The first question here is from Beach Bubbles, and all of these questions are in my private Discord, the Mars High Club. They say, thanks for doing this, Miles. One of the biggest challenges is figuring out the timing of everything. What to hold long-term, mid-term, how to strategically rotate through different timeframes, and not get caught up in the social media noise. Hope that makes sense. Would love your thoughts, and thank you for your community. So the first element of this question is figuring out the timing of everything. Now, the first piece of advice I would give here is, before you buy an altcoin, define the time frame that you're trading it across. Now, you could be buying, let's say, a meme coin like WIF and planning to hold it for the remainder of this cycle. I will get into later in this video where I think the cycle could end up topping. That's one question that I actually got. If you're holding WIF for, let's say, 12 months, you want to write that down when you actually buy that coin. Conversely, if you're getting into a coin as a trade, let's say you want to play ONDO for the next 3 months because you think RWA will be hot, then you've got to write that down when you buy. The trick to successful trading and investing is explicitly stating your time frame at the time of buying. If you're buying a coin and then trying to work out what you're going to do with it after you buy, that is a recipe for failure because you don't have a clear thesis planned out. And this was one of the most simple trading tricks that I implemented. It was basically just journaling down my reasoning behind opening a trade that made me a much profitable trader. And this cycle, I've been absolutely smashing it because of this. So I highly recommend that as a tip. Now, there's a second part to this question, which is how to strategically rotate through different time frames and not get caught up in the social media noise. So for me, a very easy way to play this market is just to pick the strong narratives that you think will outperform this cycle. And we have the data to show what has been leading this cycle, and position yourself in those narratives. And you don't need to get too tricky with playing the rotation game if you're in sectors which you know this cycle are going to be strong. Now for me, that's AI, it's meme coins, it's RWA. I think L1s also are a decent bet this cycle. I also think crypto gaming at some point is going to perform well. Now, you may have different sectors that you think will outperform. That's okay. But it's all about identifying these and having a bit of conviction that at some point in the cycle, these bets are going to perform well for you. What I'm not a huge fan of is, let's say you buy into crypto gaming because you're bullish on crypto gaming. It's not running for a couple of months. So then you FOMO into RWA because RWA is running. You essentially buy the top on RWA and then gaming has a resurgence and you FOMO back into gaming. That is something that I don't love. And that's something that happens with a lot of people. They hold bags which are underperforming, they rotate into hotter bags, but they end up screwing up the timing and messing up their portfolio. So generally speaking, for the majority of viewers out there, it's better to concentrate in the strong narratives. You can see what's outperformed so far this cycle. It's been L1s, L2s have underperformed, some of the new launches have underperformed, the meme coins have overperformed. So you capitalize yourself in these kinds of narratives and then hold them for the length that you've specified before buying them on either a Google Sheet or a trading journal, etc. That is my advice there. Next question. Miles, can you explain more deeply how you use open interest and other signals to decide when the market is overheated? Great question, because this applies to two things. Short-term trading, when you want to de-risk and go more risk on, and your long-term exit signals for the bull run, which give you an indicator of when to de-risk your overall portfolio. Because in the short term, although I have long-term holds, I also have a percentage of my portfolio, and this varies based on your trading style, it might be 20%, might be 30%, that I'm willing to de-risk at certain times and go more risk on with at certain times. And you want to use these type of indicators to determine whether to go slightly more risk off or slightly more risk on in the market. The first indicator that you can look at is open interest. This shows you the overall interest in a position in the market that's open at any given time. Looking at the changes in open interest can signal a swing in either direction, for bullish sentiment or for bearish sentiment. What I like to use is Velo data. I'll leave a link in the description to Velo if you do want to use it to get this information. And what I really like pairing that up with is the funding APR. This shows me if the funding is super positive, and you'll see it when it goes red and yellow, that the market is starting to get overheated. And when it starts to get super negative, that is an indicator that the market is potentially undercooked. Generally speaking, you want to counter trade the market. So when the market is really negative, typically you want to be buying if you're still in a macro uptrend, and when the market is super overheated, that may be an indicator to de-risk. But I understand that open interest and the funding APRs alone aren't enough to make a holistic investment decision, and that's why there are two other indicators that I use. One indicator is the 200 MA. I really like this on the daily. When you start to get super extended for a long period of time above the 200 MA, last bull run, we were actually above this level for 798 days. That is an indicator that the market is frothy. You can see we've been over the 200 MA since the latest retest for 260 days. So still not a lot of time compared to the last bull run. So when you start to get super overextended past this level, and you can do this on the lower time frames too for alts. If you're trading altcoins, you don't need to be on the weekly chart necessarily. This is one indicator for frothiness or coolness in the market. Typically when you're above this level, and I like the daily for this indicator as well, 200 MA on the daily has historically been a great pivot point and indicator for, Bitcoin and crypto in general. When you're above it, typically you're in a bull market. When you're below it, that can be a sign to de-risk. And right now, that bottom zone for Bitcoin, so a break of that would happen around the 58K region. That is your bearish flip. Until then, and until proven wrong, you are technically in a bull run. The next indicator that I like, and once again, I'm showing the Bitcoin chart here, but you can apply this to altcoins as well, is the stochastic RSI. On alts, you may want to go on the lower time frames for hourly, even daily. On Bitcoin, you can use the higher time frames, but this is an indicator to show you whether the market is overheated or underheated based on momentum. And typically counter trading this has been a way for you to generally position yourself from a macro perspective. So if you're noticing a trend lining up across the funding, the RSI starting to tick downwards or upwards, and you're also seeing that trend replicate in the open interest, these are a few indicators that you can use to determine whether the market is overheated or underheated. And typically, as long as you are in an uptrend, so above that 200 MA, let's say on the daily, you want to be playing that trend. If you're making higher lows, you're in an uptrend. If you're making lower lows, you're in a downtrend. And the timeframes that you use to quantify this do depend on your investing. Obviously, if you're investing for, the whole cycle, let's say, let's pick a random number, we'll go into this slightly later in the video, 12 months, you want to be using probably the daily and weekly charts to make decisions. If you're trading more with the shorter market rotations, because I know there are a lot of you that are traders out there, you can trade on the lower timeframes, and those statistics are also applicable. So leading on from that question, someone asked, how do you actually exit the market properly and avoid FOMO if it continues to run? I'm going to show you here the type of exit signals that you can look for towards a market top, typically a cycle macro top, and then I'll touch on the second part of that question. Now, in order to contextualize this, let's go back to 2021 and look at the signs that Bitcoin actually made on the daily when it ended up putting in its local top. So we saw this thrust above the previous all-time high, deviation back down below, but you wouldn't really blame anyone for continuing to buy down this dip, right? Because technically, structurally, it was still intact until the 52K level. The first major pivot point that was an indicator, okay, this is starting to look bearish, was the break of the 200 MA on the daily. And this is a very important indicator because it was the bull market support during that major dip. It was also the first breakout level post-halving, and it also acted as a key confluence level for Bitcoin's inevitable demise down to the 16K region, which ended up being its bottom for the cycle. So the first major de-risk moment came at the break of the 200 MA on the daily. And this is an indicator that I will use this cycle. If we start to break below, I will be de-risking. The second thing you want to pair that with is the horizontal major support levels. In this instance, it was close to the 52K region. If you want to draw in your support as well, you can see that the first breakdown was of the 58 to 59K level, 60K obviously being a major psychological level. So on the bearish retest here, that was one area to de-risk. And then on the retest again of the 200 MA and then the rejection, that was another area to de-risk. And even though you didn't catch the exact top, because no one's ever going to catch the exact top, you still protected yourself on Bitcoin from another 70% of downside. And on the altcoins, that could be 80, 90%. Now with alts, you probably want to be a little bit more cutthroat, so you can use the same data points that I've mentioned on the alts, because they're going to start breaking down before Bitcoin. Because when Bitcoin goes down its first 10%, the alts are going to go down their first 20%. So you want to line them up with Bitcoin. Use Bitcoin as your macro indicator. Use altcoins as your risk on indicator. And you can also chart total 3 to get an idea of where altcoins currently sit. Right now, alts actually look super strong. You had a retest of the support level, a break out of this flag. Alts look to be targeting that 780 bill level. A breakout of this level is obviously majorly bullish to go and attempt that altcoin all-time high. So alt's still in a bull trend, no sign of breaking down. But when you do see that breakdown via some of the price action that I pointed out on Bitcoin, that can be an indicator to de-risk. But typically, I like to treat every altcoin separately in the market. So you will look at Bitcoin for a general macro perspective, but you'll also chart the TA on each individual alt to try and give you an indicator as to whether it's topped. So that is a bit more macro thinking. Now let's get into some altcoins. Got some great altcoin questions here, like my favorite coins that could 20x this cycle, my favorite alts across a variety of sectors. I'll also get into some small caps, and let's degen a little bit. So here's a great question. Someone said, if you could pick only one meme, and this had 5 ticks, by the way, one AI, one RWA, one L1, one gaming coin, what would they be for this cycle for the long term? This is a great question, and it's a difficult one. What I would say is, generally speaking, for long-term investments, if you're positioning yourself now, it's not going to be incredibly easy to pick laggards. So when I look from a 6 to 12 month perspective, I prefer to trade the leaders And then during the respective meme coin, AI, RWA, L1 seasons, I'll rotate and I'll get a little bit risk on. But because we're not in a strong season for any of these yet, and AI's had outperformance, meme coins have had outperformance, L1s at time have had outperformance, gaming hasn't yet. Because we aren't in those seasons, I'm not going to capitalize myself too strongly in the low caps. Having a diversified portfolio, however, in the sectors that you're bullish in is never a bad thing, as long as you're not over-diversified. So answering this question, if you could only pick one meme, for me, it's between PEPE and WIF. I'm going to get into another meme coin, which is a bit more risky soon, based on the election. But in terms of longer term cycle, because I think the cycle extends past November, which is the election, PEPE, WIF, I think they're leaders. Now look, PEPE's at a $6 billion market cap. It's incredibly high. But if you can catch pullbacks and lower your cost basis over time by getting in at good times, eventually I think this still outperforms from a macro point of view in the cycle. And who knows, this could end up being a 50 to 60 bill market cap token. In the case of WIF, it's even lower in terms of market cap, closer to 3 to 4 bill. So that could still have, 10x upside, for example. So playing the leaders there for me is how I like to approach it. In terms of an AI coin, there are a variety of AI coins that I like. I'll give a couple examples now, but I'm being asked to pick one, okay? So you're kind of putting me in an awkward position because I might have 10 AI coins I like, but I can only pick one here. I like AIOZ because it's at a nice balance of being fully diluted, having a reasonable market cap, but also being true to the AI narrative, considering they have their decentralized AI product, but they're also diversified across DeepIn, Web3 storage, Web3 streaming. It's a good product with a good team, and price action-wise, this has been very strong. So I like AIOZ. Some other potential plays in the AI sector that are a little bit more risk on, but I do want to talk about. One is PEPECOIN. I think this is a really novel AI play because it's actually kind of a meme. It's the OG PEPE. So it was actually launched in 2016 before the PEPE meme coin that you all know and love. PEPECOIN is actually also an AI play because PEPECOIN is burnt as brains are minted on the BASEDAI platform. So BASEDAI is an AI protocol, which I'm going to go into more depth in a future video, which I'm bullish on. It's a very interesting decentralized machine learning network. You can kind of think of it like Tau. As this network grows, PEPECOIN is burnt. And obviously, PEPECOIN, not that one, PEPECOIN and PEPE are different, has the benefit of also having that meme factor of being the original / OG PEPE. So I like this as another AI play. But look, I also like Render. I also like some of the newer ones that are coming out like Aethea. There are a lot of good AI protocols, but you asked me to pick one and I'll probably say AIOZ. For the leading RWA coin, for me, ONDO is the clear standout alongside Pendle. After that, you've got some slightly riskier yet still established plays like Mantra. You've got upcoming ones like Red Belly. But I still think ONDO continues to lead. There still isn't much in the way of unlocks until January 2025. So in my opinion, this still has upside. I have higher targets on ONDO, even though it's been running hard. Any major dips on ONDO would be a gift. For my top L1, it's hard to go past Solana, but I understand Solana's already run. So if you are looking for, higher gains, like a 10x, 20x gain, you can look down the risk curve a little bit. I think Phantom from a risk reward perspective is great at the $2 to $3 billion range. I also like Near Protocol at that $8 billion range. Looking at Solana at a 98 bill FDV. Coins like Near and Phantom respectively have, more upside. So those are two of the L1s that I would look at if you've missed Solana, but I still think Solana continues to lead. And as I said before, I am a fan of picking leaders in the market and diversifying down, rotating down during clear seasons. Because what I don't want to be doing is holding laggards for the majority of the cycle, because that's terrible for FOMO. You'll see other narratives run and then you'll want to hop into them at the wrong times like we discussed before. And for my top gaming play, there are many. Obviously, you've got Gunzilla, which is upcoming, which I think is going to be an absolute behemoth of a game. But in terms of the liquid market, I do like Echelon Prime. It has crossover into AI. It's been a strong coin, but you are getting it at a discount versus its high at $28. It's now down to $17. It dipped down to $14. So you are getting chances to enter at lower prices, and I think they're doing great things across both gaming and AI. This is one that I'm actually looking to build some exposure to. But once again, if you want to go down the risk curve, there are other plays that are looking attractive. You've got Nyan Heroes, you've got AIOZ, which is Ultra, PYR at a low valuation. Gaming really hasn't run yet. So if you are bullish on crypto gaming, you probably have a window now to accumulate stack quality tokens, and then hopefully when there is a gaming season, which I think is coming, some of those investments can perform really well. But because it's not a leading sector, if you are investing in gaming, you're going to have to be willing to be potentially underwater for months before you get that expansion to the upside. So it's all about how you mentally prepare for these trades. Whereas if you're investing in the AI sector, you probably are going to see periods of strong outperformance. It may not have that crazy blow off performance that gaming might have at one point during the cycle, but you're going to be getting a more consistent trading pattern on those coins. So look, it really depends how you trade, but you asked me for my top coins in each sector, and those are probably the ones I would pick. And I also gave you some lower caps for the ones that want to play that game as well. The next question, which I found really interesting because it contextualizes a narrative in the market, which I'm quite strong on, and one that I talked about recently, is political coins. Someone asked, what are your thoughts on MAGA, the top political fight coin with elections coming up? Seems like a good coin. Now, the election is in roughly 160 days. Donald Trump is the leader, as you can see, according to Polymarket, followed by Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, Robert F. Kennedy, Kamala Harris, at much lower percentages. So odds suggest it's going to be one of Trump or Biden. Odds also suggest currently Donald Trump is the leader. This can change in the lead up to the election, but generally speaking, these election meme coins are going to trade as betas / proxies to the leader. Now, I think we're relatively early in the sense that the election is still 160 days away. There is a lot of time for these coins to run up in the lead up, but there's also a lot of time for these coins to have periods of lulls and drawdowns. So would I buy MAGA? Would I buy BODEN? These are probably the only two I would stick to. TUCA is interesting as well, but it's not really a political coin necessarily. It's a coin that I know Ran and Banter have been super bullish on. These are probably the two that I would stick to. And these two, you're probably going to want to catch on the major dips. Obviously, Trump's been running because he's come out and said glowing things about crypto, but there may be a period where he doesn't speak about crypto and you have a chance to position yourself. Joe Biden also may start to gain some steam in the markets at some point. Who knows? And then this could be a decent play. So generally speaking, those are the two leaders. And do I think they have upside? Yes, but they are election proxies. I think the entire market can perform well into the election. However, if you want to play a little bit more of a risk-on game in terms of playing the markets into the election, then I don't hate these plays at all. And I talked about them a couple months ago, and some of them have been performing really well since then. Next question is, the Cosmos ecosystem has been down only since December. Do you see it as an opportunity to buy the dip for a future rotation, or would you place your bets elsewhere? I'm going to answer this question and the question of what my favorite altcoins to 20x this cycle are in a minute. But before that, I want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself online, who doesn't want to protect themselves online and also be able to access content from other jurisdictions that you may not be able to access, I have a special offer for NordVPN in the description down below. I'm not chilling when I say that I genuinely use Nord every single day. I'm using it right now. I use it when I'm traveling. I travel a lot. When I'm on my laptop, I always put Nord on to protect myself. If you're doing any sort of MetaMask trading, any sort of trading on a ledger, any sort of activity online that's financially sensitive, banking, etc., in my opinion, it's an absolute no-brainer to pay $3 a month to protect yourself. So this is one of the cases where it's a very plus EV activity. I'm not just saying this to sell VPNs. Go buy a VPN under another person's link. I don't care, but please protect yourself. If you do want to protect yourself and support the channel whilst getting a discount, there is a link in the description where you will get a 70% discount plus 4 extra months for free. Comes out to $3.37 per month. I mean, you probably spend that on coffee every day and you're going to protect yourself online. Link in the description below for a highly plus EV trade this cycle. Now on to the next question, which is the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, the major issue that the Cosmos ecosystem has been facing is the fragmented liquidity. So basically what this means is because the Atom Hub itself doesn't accrue value that efficiently, and a lot of these chains utilize the SDK, they've been launching and they all have their own liquidity hubs. So although you may have an AMM like Osmosis, which applies across a variety of chains, let's say Celestia, say, etc., by and large, the liquidity is fragmented, and this makes it very hard for tokens on each respective chain to perform well. This is in stark contrast to an ecosystem like Solana, for example, where you have a strong wealth effect, Ethereum, where you have a strong wealth effect. That is a problem with Cosmos. The other problem is the Atom tokenomics. It's a governance token. Governance, although is great for decentralization, there are also trade-offs in terms of efficiency, ability to ship updates, ability to change things like tokenomics. And Cosmos has been moving slow, much slower than other ecosystems like Solana, which maybe objectively are more centralized, but because of that, you're able to get things done a lot quicker. And that's where the trade-off does occur. So do I like Atom as a buy? No. The underperformance of Atom, the inability to accrue value, I do not like. Do I think the Cosmos ecosystem will see a rotation at some point? I do think at some point it's going to come back. And there are a couple plays which I like because they aren't just Cosmos plays, but they're also plays across other sectors. I'll explain what I mean by that. The first one is Say. Say is at a 50% discount from its highs back in March. Say is one that I like as a proxy to the parallelization narrative. Monad, which is going to be one of the leading blockchains in my opinion this cycle, heavily backed. It's launching soon. It's a parallelized EVM blockchain. Say offers this technology in a liquid package. So as a proxy to trade up to the Monad launch, I do like Say, and I think at some point we're going to see a resurgence here. And at a 1.5 bill val, it is not bad. That's cheaper than Phantom. Obviously the FDV is slightly higher, but it's still not a crazy market cap, especially after it's cooled off. Celestia as well is another token in the Cosmos ecosystem, which is also down roughly 50% from its peak. This is not just a bet on Cosmos. Like Say, there's another narrative. For Celestia, it's modularity. Modularity is a very strong narrative this cycle, and we've already seen many dApps utilize Celestia's data availability. And look, I'm always looking for new investments across the crypto space, and you'd be shocked how many protocols are actually leveraging Celestia. Of course, the other benefit is from staking it, you can get access to Celestia airdrops. So that is another bonus, and the more people that stake, the more reflexive it becomes. Now, is it one of my top bets for this cycle? Currently, no. Do I think, as to answer your question here, it may have a resurgence? Yes. So I do like these two. Another more speculative one that I like is AstroPort. Extremely low market cap, extremely low FTV, so it does come with more risk, but they do have some major updates coming, and it is down significantly on highs. So this is one that's just on my list. I haven't bought it yet, but I'm considering adding a position. So Astro, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to talk about some low cap alternatives. That could be a low cap way to get exposure to the Cosmos ecosystem if you do want more upside, but also you take on more risk. So keep that in mind. Next question from Akaris. Everyone says DYOR, but how do you start? What things are you looking for to find new gems that haven't received major attention yet to get in early? Well, there are a few things I look at Akaris. Generally speaking, so not for memes, just coins in general, the first thing I want to look at is the team. Has the team had a strong track record? Who are the backers? Who are supporting the team? Do they have big VCs on board? It's not always a constituent of success, but it can be a major one. The team, however, is the most important factor to look into. So assuming they have a strong team, next is tokenomics. Because you can have the greatest protocol in the world, but if the tokenomics don't match the fundamental bullishness of the idea that they're executing, the price simply won't perform well. You need strong tokenomics to match strong fundamentals. And actually, sometimes weak fundamentals paired with strong tokenomics can still result in price pumps. So to look at tokenomics, there's a few things you need to work out. Firstly, when's the vesting? Is there a major cliff, which means there's not much sell pressure in the first year like ONDO? That's one of the reasons why it's been pumping. And then when does the sell pressure start to kick in? Then you can start to de-risk around those major events. Is there going to be a major unlock on launch? Will this suppress price and maybe give you an opportunity to scoop up lower on launch? Where are the tokens being directed? Is it being given back to the community to start ecosystem growth? Or is an unearthly amount of tokens going towards the insiders and the team who are inevitably going to dump on you? And if they are going to dump, when is that vesting schedule happening? So tokenomics are also super important. And what you also want to look for is social growth. What you have to understand about crypto is that it's a social game. It trades on attention. It's an attention economy. So for meme coins specifically, looking at the amount of holders on SolScan or ETHScan and making sure it's growing, like PEPE in the early days, this is one of the major signs to get in. This is something great that you can implement to your toolbox. A website, a tool that I think is absolute alpha that I do use for this is June Analytics. You can look at the meme coin holder growth per 24 hours. You can also search meme coins to work out whether they have been performing well in terms of growth. There's also a relative strength indicator here for 7 days, 90 days, 30 days. This is an amazing dashboard that you can use. It's called, you can search this on June, Meme Coin Super Cycle by DYOR Crypto. June Analytics pretty much has the toolkit to give you a lot of the data to get in early. But those are a couple things that I would look for. The other thing that I look for, generally speaking, is narratives. It's not just individual coins. I want to look at trends in the market. So are creators starting to talk about a trend? Is it starting to gain mindshare? Are big accounts picking it up? Is the trend generally being responded to well by retail? Is price action reflecting the amount that creators and people are talking about these coins? These are all things you can do to get in early, not only to coins, but narratives in general. Now on to the next question. What do I do if I'm in a rubbish coin that never pumps? Should I sell it at a loss or rotate? Very simple answer to this question. And you're probably holding an altcoin right now, or altcoins, which you're tempted to rotate out of because there's another play that's hotter and shiny that you want to get into. The question is, at the current price, would you be willing to buy that coin? So if you're holding a coin, would you be willing to buy at that current price? Ask yourself that question. If the answer is no, probably got to reconsider why you're holding that coin. Because minus tax implications, of course, holding at a certain price level is actually similar to agreeing to buy at that given time, at that given price. And you can also ask yourself, let's say you're holding AVAX and you're holding Solana. Ask yourself, if you're holding a bag of AVAX, right, and you're holding a bag of Solana, if you were to theoretically put, let's say, $100 into either one today, what one would you put your money into? If you're saying Solana, but you're holding AVAX, that is an indicator that you should make the switch. However, it's not as linear as that. Sometimes the best answer is to have both. You don't need to pick and choose. So you can do percentages. 50% in one, 50% in the other. 70-30, 80-20, 10-90. Whatever you want to make sure the balance matches your conviction, that's the key. Your sizing should always match your conviction. And to be honest, you shouldn't be in any coins that you don't have conviction in, because if you're in coins without conviction, it's going to make it incredibly hard to hold through the bad times, much less accumulate more of that coin during the bad times, which is what you should be doing with a coin you have conviction in when it dips. So don't invest in coins without conviction. That's my advice there. But hopefully that helps you change your thinking about coins you're down on. If there's a better alternative in the market that you think is going to outperform, then what's the point of being stuck in another coin? I 100% believe in rotating if that's the case. But if you're rotating for the sake of it, to chase a trend, you also have to have the foresight to identify that as well. Next question by HubFub. Miles, I have a question you probably can't answer yet. One up only, bro. And this is a question where the answer is really going to depend on who you speak to. It's a pretty hard question to answer. Look, I don't know when the market's going to go up only. What I do know is that at some point, I'm anticipating a major expansion to the upside on alts, especially if you do consider whenever we get the break of this major level at roughly the 780 bill region, because the expansion to previous all-time highs and then obviously above that is what we're looking for. When can we expect this to happen? Well, let's use some basic timing. From the halving to the first peak, it was 350 days last cycle. From the halving to the main peak, it was 560 days. So if we take these examples, to the first peak, you could be looking at March 2025, and to the final peak, based on the last bull run, you could be looking at October 2025. However, I believe that this cycle has been slightly accelerated and is slightly left-leaning. So for that reason, I'm being conservative and I'm targeting something in the middle, probably a Q1 peak. This is my best guess right now. A Q1 peak. Does this mean the market can't perform well later in the year? No. But if you're asking for when the blow-off period is going to happen, I'm saying Q4 to Q1. Now, there are a lot of positive catalysts for the market. You have the election in November. If a certain candidate wins, that could be very good for markets. You may see that momentum go into the Christmas period, which is typically bullish for crypto. This all bodes well for Q1. And if momentum sustains, heck, we could even see a sustained cycle. I hope we see a sustained cycle. I hope we have a bull run for 2 years, but I'm being realistic here. So if you ask me when up only, I'm going to say later in the year. I don't think it's going to happen over this summer period. I think you're going to see some narrative outperformance. I think there's opportunities to make money over the next few months. But in terms of like peak retail mania, thinking it happens later in this year to early next year. Jason and I discussed this in depth in my interview. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend going onto the channel and checking it out. We go into how many days left we think the cycle has. The spoiler here is that we're relatively aligned on this Q1 thesis, but there is a lot of data that goes into it that we unpack in that video if you're interested in learning more. Now for the question that is on the thumbnail of today's video. If you had to pick 4 altcoins you believe could achieve a 20x return by the end of the bull run, what would you pick? Now let me say this. A 20x return is not easy. If you're picking altcoins for a 20x return, you're going to need to go down the risk curve quite a lot. You're going to need to go for coins in the 1 to 200 million market cap region, maybe 500 to a bill if you think they can run up to 10, 20 bill. You know, in the bull run, prices can go higher than you ever expect them to. But I don't want to come here and sell false lies or hopium. So I'm actually going to reduce this question 50% to 10x. I think 10x is much more realistic for many alts. I like the risk reward on a 10x more than a 20x. If you're looking for 20, 50x's this cycle, that's fine. You know what you have to do. You have to invest in strong narratives and you got to go down the risk curve a little bit. For me, I feel a bit more confident playing the leaders for a 10x. So for a 10x, what would I pick? Well, I did a video where I named some of my high conviction alts. I think WIF, honestly, is one of the easiest 10x in the market. I think WIF this cycle from 3.7 bill, it can go to 37. Doge peaked at 65 bill. WIF top meme coin on Solana. Solana has a lot of mind share. Ansem is the main character of this cycle. He's been pushing it. I don't think it's going away. And I told you about this at $1, but you will have, and you have had many opportunities to buy in on dips. And I think you'll still get some dips on WIF. If you do look at WIF, it is starting to break out past this level on the daily, which is super bullish. Looks like it wants to attempt that high. I did give you this call on the breakout, so you guys should be up a decent chunk in my Discord yesterday. So congrats to all the members of the Mars High Club that did get that call. But I don't think it's done from a macro perspective. I think there's still a 10x in this. I also think a 10x in PEPE, depending on where your cost basis is, could still happen this cycle. Now, full disclosure, I'm already up a 70x on this. Not a net 70 because I've been taking profits on the way up. That's also something you should do, by the way. Take profits on the way up. Don't wait for a 10x and then cash out. You may be caught off guard. So taking profits on the way up is smart. Do I think there's a 10x left in PEPE though? There definitely could be. As I said, especially if you can get these dips back down to a 5 bill FTV, back down to a 4 bill FTV. You'll get these periods where momentum stalls, periods where memes aren't so hot, and you can buy in and lower your cost basis. Prime, I think, is a good candidate as well in the gaming niche. That can 10x. Phantom can 10x. AIOZ can 10x. A lot of the coins I'm talking about today, a 10x isn't crazy, right? A 10x across a lot of these coins isn't crazy. Can Solana and ONDO 10x? Maybe not, but they're leaders in their respective sectors, so you may be happy with a 3, 4x there. Not everything needs to be a 10x. This is what you also have to understand. Certain coins in your portfolio have a different purpose. You go in with bigger size, they're safer, so you're not taking on as much risk, and then you're taking on more risk as you go down the curve a little bit in other alts. Not everything needs to be a 10x. Solana, you know, it might only 3 to 4x. That's fine. I mean, I'm happy with that. It could 10x, but it's fine. I'm personally very happy. You know, whereas if you go down the risk curve and you invest in a Say or a Celestia, it may not be a leader, but if it is, it can outperform. Something like an ASTRO, which I discussed today at 100 mil, this is extremely risky, but that can do a 20x easier than other coins. The one I discussed before, the AI Play PEPECOIN, it's riskier than its other PEPE counterpart, which is at 6 bill, because PEPECOIN's sitting around 700 mil. But this, by nature of market cap, just the simple law of gravity in crypto means it can pump more. I mean, that's pretty much the simple rule in crypto. The lower the market cap, the easier it is to pump because the less liquidity it takes to impact price. Higher it is, harder it is to pump. And that's why you see Bitcoin move less than altcoins, typically, in a bull run. So I did have to halve the expected returns here to be realistic, but those are some of the coins that I would pick if I was looking for a 10x this cycle. But it all depends on your objectives, of course. Now let's go rapid fire. I'll give very quick answers to some other questions. There were so many questions though in the Discord. So many that I won't have time to answer. So let me just go through some really quickly now. And if you do like this video, let me know in the comments below. Would you like to see this video again? Comment, yes, I'd like to see it again, or no. Happy for you to say no if you don't like this video, but I think a lot of you will find value in this Q&A because I've got so many more questions I can answer, not just from the Discord, but I can ask on Twitter, I can ask on the channel. And we can do a round 2 of this. In fact, if you do say yes and you have a question to ask it below. Say yes, I'd love to see it again. Here's my question. And then next video, I can circle back to this video and answer some questions in the comments. Too late to buy PEPE, Bonk, and ONDO now. Look, I'm a big fan of waiting for dips, but from a macro perspective, I think there's a lot of upside to go. Where you get your entries depends on your strategy towards the market, but I still would wait for pullbacks to major high time frame levels. It's the way I like to play the game. Someone here asking about Spectral is a recent AI play that I've been taking a position in. I'm bullish on it, posted about it in my Discord. Doesn't have many unlocks until November, so I think if AI sees a season, it can run. What do you think about Sui compared to Phantom? I prefer Phantom, but I don't mind Sui as an L1 play. Is there an ideal FDV for market cap ratio for projects? No. This is a bit of a meme. It mostly depends on when the unlocks are, so look at the tokenomics. Someone asked here, how could we as normal retail participants band together in a more coordinated manner to battle the institutions, VCs, big money, as they have influence, manipulation, and power? I would say the narrative is actually shifting a little bit, and meme coins have been a little bit of a shifter. So I would just say, like, speak your mind. Feel free to speak your mind on public forums. If a narrative gains enough attention, if people speak their mind, eventually projects make changes. Binance recently had a knee-jerk change to the recent low float, high FDV thing. That narrative was picked up just because retail was complaining. So just speak your mind for sure. Someone says too late to start investing this bull run. I won't get into the nitty-gritty here, but I would say no, not at all. I actually think the next few months could be a bit choppy, not in a super negative way, just, I don't think it's crazy bull mania now. So I'd say, look, you're not early to the bull run. Early was last year when you're accumulating, but you're not late either. You're certainly not late to crypto, and you're certainly, so retail isn't in. Like, I talk to retail all the time. I have friends in retail. I know people in, retail circles, obviously. They don't know much about crypto. They don't know about Solana wallets. It's really early. So you're late on CT, crypto Twitter, but you're early from a retail perspective. But that's all that really matters, because most people are investing from a macro point of view. You're not, obviously you can be a day trader. That's one way to make money, but the majority of you are probably longer term investors. So I would say it's not too late to start investing. No. Look, there are so many questions here. I won't have time to answer them all. Got bombarded, which I love. Thank you guys for asking your questions. I'm going to answer some questions manually in the Discord, but any question you have, you can ask in the comments below if you do like this type of show, and we can get to it in this video. If you like it, I'll do it again. And there's a link in the description to the Champions League campaign. Remember, if you sign up to register for the campaign, you can vote for your winner and win a share of the $500,000 prize pool. You can also enter the lucky draw for tickets. More you trade, the more spins you are going to get. Very, very cool campaign. A la Madrid. And there's also a link to Nord below if you don't want to protect yourself. I will see you in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this. We may do it again one day. See you later. Peace.